To Madame Filth. As you predicted, Eric has come to me for guidance on the paths of enlightenment. I can only guess at the machinations you have engaged to bring him east, but I acknowledge the skill of your craft. I met with him in Budapest and introduced him to a Malkavian associate of mine who might lead him to the path he needs. That Malkavian refused to allow Eric near the sanctum he shared with some other Cainites, but did agree to tutor him in Prague. I will enclose the address of Eric's haven in this message, and in doing so, complete the terms of the bargain you and I struck last year. I must say, he was in a dreary state, which makes sense, given what losing Amelia represents. I know the scale of this loss myself, as you are aware. But now I have completed my side of our arrangement. I expect you to fulfill yours. You will tell me when and where I may collect my beloved Amelia, and I assume this will not only be timely, but that Amelia's affections for me will be restored to the wondrous heights they once were, or at least appear that way. Whatever the truth, time together will bring us back to the love we once shared, and Eric will fade from her memory. Whatever path he finds himself on, or whatever dark plans you may have for him, he certainly will be kept busy. It must seem silly to you, this love I hold for Amelia. Someone with as dark a heart as yours surely finds deep feelings for another to be alien. And I'm sure your life in the underworld of the Nosferatu doesn't do much for your appreciation of beauty. Or does it? I've often wondered if those who are cursed in the way you are yearn for beauty, even though you may publicly scorn it. But in an eternal night, Madame Filth, you will find that one of the only things that help a Cainite bear the weight of this darkness is proximity to sublime beauty. It brightens our nights and reminds us that we live in a world graced by God's love. That might sound sentimental to you, so let me say it in a way that might be more understandable to someone more transactional. Beauty is power. Yes, I can hear your response across hundreds of miles of distance. Many kindred are what a kind would describe as beautiful. And what does it matter in the end when the biological drives that give one the desire for sex are gone? It's exactly the point. In order to shine amongst kindred, one must be exceptionally beautiful. The kind of beauty one hears about in myth and legend. Yearning, sexual desire. With Cainites, these are not the product of chemicals, but states of mind. Kindred of great beauty thus haunt us. The memory of them exists as a shade in our mind, reminding us of what wonders and possibilities await us. Far more powerful than any command from Dominate, and longer lasting than any scar left from a gangrel's claw. Beauty is a mask, a distraction that can't be ignored, hiding away one's true plans, ambitions, and nature. Beauty is armor, a pristine gilded shield that hurts any who would ruin it, for it is so precious. Beauty is a weapon, so covetous are kindred or kind that they can be talked into fighting a war over it. And as it is with so many of God's blessings, great beauty is incredibly rare. The examples of this are powerful lessons for us in these modern nights, and one of the oldest stretch back to our very beginnings. There's no better example of beauty manifesting as power than the story of Zillah, the first wife of Cain. I know, your ideologies in the Camarilla insist that we pretend these are fables, but I have just emerged from another sect of Cainites with a very different view, so indulge me. Zillah the Beautiful was born more than 10,000 years ago, and her attractiveness was such that it inflamed the desire of Cain himself. No matter how hard the Dark Father tried, though, he could not win the heart of this stunning mortal. This led to Cain seeking out the knowledge and understanding of his blood, learning the ways of the blood bond so that Zillah might, at last, love him. After securing her affections, Cain would later embrace Zillah, making her a vampire of the second generation. She is likely the progenitor of the lineages of the followers of Set, the Banu Hakim, and indeed your own, the Nosferatu. For the sake of her beauty alone, Cain created the blood bond. Zillah became a living god and changed history with the Cainites she would create. What would history look like without blood bonds, Nosferatu, Setites, or the Banu Hakim? Speaking of followers of Set, these kindred are home to another incredible undead beauty. She is Kindred, the first Cainite on the Camarilla's red list, and the first in hearts of many vampires. During the New Kingdom, around 3,000 years ago, under the reign of Pharaoh Seti I, who fancied himself the son of Set, a great temple to the red god was built. This temple was to be operated by the most attractive priestesses in all of Egypt to honor Set. Kindred was one of these young priestesses, and it wouldn't be long before she became the greatest of them. For not only was she the most lovely, but also the most cunning. It wasn't long before she drew the attention of Set himself, who considered her to be the perfect agent to infiltrate the cults of his enemies and learn thaumaturgical secrets that would give him a special form of immortality. Kindred would succeed in this task, but even as a priestess of Set, she remained her own person, and in the end refused to give Set the secret of the spell of life. Unlike Cain and Zilla, Set would give Kindred the embrace as a punishment rather than a reward, keeping her from the benefit of the immortality she had learned. Kindred would escape Set's grasp and then spend thousands of years using her looks and guile to disrupt and dominate the affairs of Kindred, which drew her interest. Across the Mediterranean, at nearly the same time, the world turned around another stunning beauty. One of the most beautiful women in history was born. Her name was Helena, but she would be better known to you by the name Helen of Troy. As a gorgeous woman, even in her youth, it wouldn't take long before she came to the attention of a Cainite, the Toreador Methuselah, Minos. This powerful ancient was obsessed with the woman, that kind of monomaniacal obsession the Toreador often find themselves captured by when it comes to beautiful things or people. Rather than being flattered, Helena was filled with revulsion at the idea of marrying Minos. She fled to Asia Minor, where she would fall in love with a local mortal prince, also said to be quite handsome, named Prius. They would spend the next decade in his city enjoying a love affair that few would ever experience. Living in this bliss, Minos had retreated from Helena's thoughts. But 10 years is little more than a blink of an eye for an ancient Toreador, and beautiful Helena never left his mind. He would eventually learn of her location, and after traveling to Asia Minor, Minos would storm the city holding his beloved, slaughtering any who got in his way. He would abduct her back to Argos, where he would embrace her and subject her to the blood bond. For 13 years, she existed as a thrall to Minos, and the future certainly must have seemed bleak to poor Helena. But remember what I said about the power of beauty. The love it inspired in Prius led him to raise an army, which he took to Argos to assault the palace of the Toreador Methuselah. There, Prius would sink his spear into the ancient's heart and, to his surprise, find Helena launching herself at her torpored sire, whom she would proceed to diablerize. Helena has walked this world for thousands of years since. She is the sire to many kindred of note, including Prince Villon of Paris, the noble Baron Vulgaire, and Melinda Galbraith, who was at one time the regent of the Sabbat itself. Her power and influence reached across sect and touched a vast amount of kindred. We've discussed a great deal of sublime allure, but there's also beauty that haunts, beauty that is alien or primordial. And when we talk of such stark, unrelenting beauty, we must mention Sasha Vikos. I'm sure that you have heard of them, Madame Filth. This Tzimisce priestess of the Sabbat has existed in many forms, all of them elegant products of mastery over fleshcraft. But even in their natural form, Sasha Vikos was striking. Born as Micah Vikos, a noble in the Carpathian Mountains. After being embraced by the Tzimisce Simeon, this Cainite would become the lover of Methuselah's in the glory days of the Dream of Constantinople, where they were a personal favorite of the Toreador ancient who styled himself the Archangel Michael. The things Micah would learn from Michael and the Triumvirate of Constantinople would fuel the young Cainite's rapid journey into being one of the most powerful practitioners of thaumaturgy and vicissitude, as well as one of the most eminent Nodist scholars. After the Convention of Thorns, Micah would discard almost everything about their previous life, including their gender, flowing into feminine or androgynous forms as their mood would suit them. Micah would become Sasha Vikos, a being of such transcendent talent and attractiveness as to become almost a totem for the Sword of Cain. While capable of conventional attractiveness, Sasha Vikos prefers the alien allure of modification from vicissitude. with a network of symmetrical tattoos and veins that they have the ability to speak through, a chorus of voices carrying the message of the Sabbat. When in their truest form, Sasha Vikos is a wondrous sight to behold. The Camarilla has its own desirable operatives who wield their attractiveness as a weapon for their sect, and none are more famous than Victoria Ashe. In mortal life, Victoria was the concubine to the King of France. She was of such striking loveliness that the Toreador of France would race one another to embrace her, with Maximilian winning Victoria in the end. She would become the consummate politician, using her ingenuity and cunning to serve her interests and those of her sire, using her raw sexuality enhanced by her mastery of presence to get her way when reason would fail. It was a game she was uniquely skilled to play. No mortal can resist her charms, and very few kindred are able to resist her appeal. And it is said that Victoria Ashe is being considered as a potential choice for a political marriage that would ally the Camarilla with the Ashira. A woman whose beauty is too great to resist, cementing the relationship between the two sects? The truth of this, who can know? Only time will tell, but she would be a powerful influence over many who would be bound to her through oaths of blood. While you may find love to be an unfamiliar feeling, you may be able to sense the shape of its potency in how beauty inspires it and brings kindred to action. These are examples of how glorious individuals have shaped the course of Cainite history, and each of those vampires has cunning to match their physical appearance. I am sure that as a practical matter, you can see how effective such people are. You have, after all, ensnared my lovely Amelia in your web. But to truly appreciate what is possible, you should do your best to appreciate such things beyond a cold, analytical approach. When I think of Amelia, I feel my heart begin to beat, blood rush to my face. My memories of her makes blood course through my veins. I need her, Madame Filth. And my need for her has made me do something I never thought I would do. Betray her trust. I sacrificed my honor for the sake of love, and it is a high price to pay. One's reputation is all, and I gamble it here with you. This is the coin I have paid you, Madame. Now give me Amelia. Melanthia, Clan La Sombra, Prague. September 1943.